In this video, I'm going to show you a very attractive attacking game. And it's not only attractive, it's very instructive as well, as it will teach you a lot how to play with the bishop pair when you're on the attack together with some other pieces. You can see how much damage these pieces can cause. It's with the white pieces, former world champion from the Netherlands, Max Euwe. And he's playing against Paul Keres. And the game was played in Amsterdam 1940. Paul Keres was actually one of the strongest players of his time. And he never managed to become a world champion. Max Euwe became world champion 5 years prior to this game by defeating Alexander Aljechin. But he was, apart from being a very strong player, he had a very impressive career. And although I've never met him in person, the interesting link I have with him is that he was a teacher at the school my mom went to when she was around 12 years old. And Max Euwe was mathematics professor as well. So very impressive career. Later he also managed to become a FIDE president. So he had various roles also within the chess world. But this game, first things first, this is what you must know. It's going to be very interesting. So Euwe playing with the white pieces goes for the move 1d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, b6, the Queen's Indian. We have seen this already many times on this channel. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure to watch other videos as well and subscribe to the channel. g3. Nowadays, bishop a6 is considered to be the more aggressive move, but bishop b7 is a very reliable option, of course, to put a bishop on this long diagonal. So white does the same, bishop g2, bishop e7, and both sides are bringing their king into safety. Knight c3, and black goes for the move knight e4, trying to establish a nice grip on that e4 square. If white captures, then you take back with the bishop, and white doesn't get a chance to bring its e-pawn forward. But in the next couple of moves, we will see that play evolves around that e4 square. White goes queen c2 to attack the knight on e4 one more time. Knight takes c3, and the idea is that white can capture with the queen. So you don't want to take back with the pawn. You would like to keep a nice pawn structure without any weaknesses. d6 was played with the idea to get the knight into the game. And now, interesting move, queen c2. Now you're thinking, why is white making another move with its queen? Well, the idea is all about the e4 square. You want to play the move e2, e4, occupying the center, and therefore black plays the move f5, controlling that square one more time, and white goes knight e1. So white offers the exchange of bishops and is ready to occupy the e4 square next. Black played queen c8, saying that, okay, you can go for the exchange of bishops, but I'm going to take back with my queen if needed. And, well, white doesn't go for the exchange, but plays the move e4 right away. And it looks like white is having quite some nice play here, because if you would swap everything on e4, this queen is quite active. It hits the rook in the corner. There's potential pressure against the pawn on e6. So I think white's position looks quite attractive. So what should black do? Well, there are various moves. Trying to strike back in the center with e5 comes into consideration, but Keres played here the move knight d7. That's possible, but now, okay, white has the possibility to, for instance, take on f5 and later put the pawn on d5, and the idea is then to get a knight to that weakened e6 square. But it was not played in the game. The move played by Euwe is the move d5. It's very typical for these positions with a fianchettoed bishop to place the pawn there to restrict the power of that bishop. But there are some drawbacks to this move, because black captures on e4. White recaptures with the queen, and now the knight comes to c5, attacking the queen, protecting the pawn on e6, so no time for white to take there. The queen goes back to e2, and now bishop to f6. That's also a very useful move, because the bishop looks excellently placed on this long diagonal, making it harder for the bishop to be developed. Now, the pawn on e6 can be taken, but let's say that happens, black takes on g2, trading off the bishops, then black has the option to free its position by recapturing with the queen, Rooks are connected. You can place a rook on the open file. And I think black is even a bit better thanks to that pressure against the pawn on b2. It's difficult for white to bring the bishop into the game. So let's go back to the game. After bishop f6, white had more ambitious plans. Played here the move bishop h3, pinning the pawn on e6. But now, okay, black protects it with the move rook e8, bishop e3. And black wants to take on d5 at some point, but the queen is there on c8. So first the queen got to move. And now things are heating up because pawn on d5 is hanging. If black were to move, he could take twice on d5 and win the pawn. Bishop takes c5. White eliminates that defender of the pawn on e6. And if you just recapture, the pawn on e6 can be taken and black has huge problems here. But Keres, his idea was that after bishop takes c5, there is this intermediate move, pawn takes pawn on d5, opening up the e-file, attacking the queen. If the queen goes away, the bishop on c5 can still be taken. Now, it's very important that the attempt to save the bishop with bishop e3 runs into the move d4. And because of that pin along the e-file, black regains the material. Instead of bishop e3, there was another interference move. Bishop e6 with check. Nice idea. The king goes to h8. And we see there are some problems with this bishop. There are ideas to attack the bishop one more time. And if you ever take with the pawn on d5, there is even bishop takes d5 as the queen on e2 is unprotected. So here, Euwe had a different idea. He brought the rook into the game. Rook d1. As okay, he's going to lose the piece anyway. Now black captured on c5. And white didn't take on c5 here, probably because this pawn on d5 is going to be a weakness. After bishop d4, the rook no longer covers the pawn on d5. Bishop takes d5 is coming next. And then we see the bishop on e6 is in trouble because of that pin. So no c takes d5. Instead, knight g2 was played. And here there are still interference ideas with bishop coming to d4. I think that's a very nice active idea. But Keres did it in a slightly different way. He played a move d4 to open up the diagonal for that light squared bishop. And of course, Euwe had anticipated this, that must be clear. And his plan was now to play the move f4. Followed by f5 to anchor this bishop for good on e6. Maybe later the knight can come in, the knight can even come to d5. And with his pawn on f5, there may be even some attacking chances against the black king. But now, the moment of the game, this is where it's gonna start. And you will really enjoy it. It's a remarkable idea here. It's a clearance sacrifice and even a material investment. Because black played here this move d3. He's giving up its protected passed pawn. He's attacking the queen on e2. Now rook takes d3 was played. And now the key move at this point is a stunning queen sacrifice. Queen takes d3 with the idea to deflect the queen from the e-file. After queen takes d3, the bishop comes in with check to d4. And well, the king is in trouble. White has a number of options to get out of this check. If you go with the king to h1, you place yourself in a very ugly pin. There is rook takes e6, and black will play rook e8 next, followed by rook e2. And I don't think there is a good way to protect that knight, because look at the bishop on d4. It's guarding all these dark squares together with the light squared bishop on b7. Tremendous pressure. So instead of king h1, well, there are other options as well. You can block with your knight, but that doesn't really help. There's rook takes e6, and the knight on e3 is in huge trouble. If you go rook e1, it's rook e8, and now it's rook and the bishop for the queen, but the knight is gonna hang as well and can be taken on the next move. So that explains the move played by Euwe. It's rook f2, but it's not a move you would like to play, right? You place your rook in a pin. There's rook takes e6, and now after king f1, white is trying to enlighten the pressure here by going for the exchange of rooks. And this is instructive moment because black has the opportunity now to get back some material by taking on f2. Bishop takes f2 is a possibility, and I think black should be better, but okay, 2 rooks against the queen. Rooks are working nicely together, but how are you going to infiltrate? Things are not that simple at all, and I think the move played by Keres is so instructive because it really shows you that you should not care too much about material. It's about the activity of all your pieces, and the key move here is rook a e8. That's a beautiful move. Rooks are working together. This rook cannot really go to the e file anyway. And well, there are various ideas. For instance, if you try to save the rook with rook d2, now the bishop comes to e4, attacking the queen. Queen goes away, and now, beautiful idea, here is bishop f5. And the plan is that the bishop has done its job on this diagonal, and rather you place the bishop after, let's say, queen d1, you place it on h3 to pin this knight on g2, and white is completely paralyzed, cannot really do anything. If the rook goes away, you have ideas even to play g5 to open up this position, to remove the pawn from the f-file. And well, if you get a chance, you will play rook f8, and the white king is kind of caught in a mating net. So I think that's the reason why Euwe didn't want to enter this line. He didn't move his rook. He played here the move f5 instead, looking for counterplay to attack the rook on e6. Rook goes to e5, and well, now there are even better ideas with rook e4, attacking the queen, maybe winning the pawn on f5 as well. So black is trying to win the pawn, but white will do something about it by playing f6 here. G takes f6, and you're not afraid, you're not opening your king really, because white is not able to regain the material now. Rook takes f6, runs into bishop takes g2 with check. You're giving up your fantastic bishop, but it has a very concrete purpose, as now you're giving rook e2 check, and after white solves the check, you're able to take the rook on f6 with your bishop, and that's just too much material for the queen. So after g takes f6, only now rook d2 was played. You understand that white has voluntarily given up that f-pawn, but okay, the advantage is that with this pawn on f5, the f-file remains closed, and it's not possible for black to attack the white king. So what should black do next? It looks as if all its pieces are fantastically placed, and it's kind of impossible to further improve your position. Well, Keres realized that this bishop is really good, but it's not really threatening anything. If the bishop can be improved to c8 and then to h3, pinning the knight on g2, you have a huge mating threat on e1. So bishop h3 is an idea. Also bishop f5 looks really strong. So therefore knight f4 was played. And well, here again, there are a lot of ideas for black. Well, at least you cannot come with the bishop to h3. The knight covers that square, but rook comes in now to e3 because the knight no longer covers the e3 square. So you're attacking the queen, and the queen got to go away. For instance, if the queen goes to c2, you give a check on e1. Now beautiful forcing line, king g2, rook g1. You cannot go to h3, only move is king to f3. Now the other rook comes in, and after king f2, look at this beautiful battery. Now it's time to move the rook away with check, winning the queen thanks to this discovered check. So you understand that the queen is not well placed on the c2 square, and therefore queen b1 was played. But okay, even though you're controlling the e1 square, there's not a rook check there. There is another rook move, rook f3, check. You cannot block with your rook because it will just be taken, so king g2. And now, you may have wondered, what is the follow-up? Look at this, guys. This is beautiful. Pause the video for a second if you want to think what is the best move here for black. Subscribe to the channel, let me know what you think of this game. And then 3, 2, 1, I'm going to show you what was played by Keres. It's stunning sacrifice. Rook takes f4. Eliminating one of the key defenders. The idea is that after g takes f4, the rook comes to the g file. And the king doesn't have many squares to go to. If you go to f1, it's rook g1, and thanks to this beautiful pin, skewer, you're winning the queen on b1. So king f1 is not possible. if you go into the corner, it's bishop to b7, and that's also just crushing. So that's not a possibility. You can, for instance, consider moving the king to f3. But now the bishop also comes with tempo. Look at the beautiful cooperation between the two bishops. The king can go back to the g file. Let's say you go king g3, but that's asking for problems. There's a discover check, and black wins the queen on b1. So the only move is to put the king on e4. But now, another check. It's rook e8. If the king goes back, you have bishop f5. And I wanted to say the queen is lost, but look at this king. It's just caught in the middle. It's checkmate. Beautiful mating pattern as well. So in the game, king d5 was played. And now we see the bishop attacking the king from the other angle as the bishop goes to f3 and white resigned because the king cannot go anywhere. All the squares have been covered. The only move here for white would have been here to block with the queen, but after bishop takes e4, it's checkmate anyway. So Max Euwe resigned after this move, bishop f3. I thought this was a very instructive game. You see the power of the bishops hitting an exposed king. So hope you really learned something from this game as well. Let me know what you think of it. And very soon I'll be back with more exciting games from the past. Bye bye.